Hello, everybody. It's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com again with another video for you about language facilitation. So welcome welcome back if you are a subscriber, and if you're not a subscriber, this is a really good time to hit that subscribe button because you are here at a place that is for you, designed my whole channel. There's almost 400 videos here designed to equip and empower you as parents to become your child's language facilitator. So welcome to everybody who's joining me both live and on the replay. Today we're going to be talking about these hacks right here. 5 hacks that late talkers use to avoid trying speech. Here we go. I'm going to show you right here. I usually show the thumbnail. That's what we're going to talk about. 5 hacks that late talkers use to avoid trying talking. And the thing is, late talkers avoid trying talking because primarily it's hard for them, or they feel like it's hard for them, and it causes them to shut down and avoid trying. So what I'm going to talk about today is these 5 hacks that they use. I'm going to show them to you right now. These are the 5 hacks that late talkers use to avoid trying speech. We're going to talk about these hacks, and then I'm going to talk about what to do. So the first thing is that they rely on siblings or peers to talk for them. Okay, that happens sometimes. And then they develop nonverbal language, their own nonverbal language, and they teach you how to understand them instead of listening to you to learn how to talk. Okay, they will learn where things are, watch you because they have great eyes and problem solving, and then they figure out how to get them on their own. Okay, so they don't even have to come to you to ask anymore. That's a very common hack. And then this other one, number 4, is late talkers will just learn to wait for someone to anticipate their needs. And that happens with families that are guessing or they schedule things out. We're going to talk about it. And then ignoring speakers, whoever's talking to them, they can shut you down and stop listening immediately. So those are the hacks we're going to be talking about today, because what is important about this process, this video, why I decided to make this video for you, is that this is where a lot of parents feel stuck. It's not for lack of trying, right? You are presenting your child with some options or opportunities to learn from you and listen from you, and they are, with these hacks, literally in their mindset turning the tables on you. And it can feel very, very frustrating for a parent who maybe you watched videos and you were trying to do some strategies, but your child is shutting you down. And it's because they're afraid. Their mindset is in, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid it's too hard. I'm afraid whatever you're bringing to me is not what I want. And they already shut you down before you even get started with language facilitation. So, by the way, this is live, and if you're joining me live, you're certainly welcome to post questions in the comments now, and even on the replay, because what I do is I gather those questions, and sometimes I certainly will respond to you if you comment here, but I also use those as suggestions for other videos. So if you have a question about your late talker, this is a great place to put a comment. Okay, let's move in to these strategies and talk about what we're going to be doing here. You know, what they are. Let's dig into them and then figure out what you can do. Now, you may not have all of these things going on. These are the 5 most common hacks that I observe with the families that I work with over years and years and years, but there are trends, you know, like I see similar things, and these 5 are, you know, like I said, the similar. So let's get into the number 1, which is right here, where we're going to talk about late talkers and how they rely on their siblings and peers to talk for them. And this happens when you have other kids in your household, like maybe they have older brothers and sisters or younger brothers and sisters who talk more. That happens too with late talkers. Or they go to school or daycare or family, you know, like got cousins around, things like that. That's what I'm talking about, peers. They will do this. So what happens is siblings and peers, especially those who are late talking, they spend a lot of time together watching and learning from each other's trials and errors. So a late talking child at the school, right? Or in your household is going to watch what the other kids are doing, and they're going to see, oh, when he did that, it worked for him. He got what he wanted. Or when he did that, the adult it didn't happen. He didn't get it. So they think, okay, I'm going to be like example A, where he actually got the outcome he wanted, and I'm not going to be like B. Because again, these are all behaviors that late talkers are observing, because all behavior is communication. Even children who talk, even adults who talk and talk and talk like volumes like me, I use behavior as communication too. We all do it. And late talkers, that's their primary language. That's the next one we're going to get to talk about. But let's get into some other reasons about this one. So late talkers, what they do is, like I said, they watch and see what their successful communicator peers are doing and saying, doing or saying, especially when they start to get verbal, they're going to start to listening. What did he say to get him the cookie, right? And that's what they want to know, is what works for other people. How does the language work for you? Otherwise, they don't have a use for it unless they see it being used by other people. That's how we all learn it. And then this next one here is late talkers may more readily, non-verbally, of course, or wherever they are in the spectrum of learning spoken language. They could be yelling, they could be saying single words, they could be using a combination of all of that. And what they do is they will more readily communicate this way with the people they feel more comfortable with. So a sibling or peer, especially if the parent or authority figure has withheld the thing they wanted, they'll literally make plans with their peers to try to negotiate or sneak or get whatever they want. And they will work with those peers because their peers don't judge them as much as adults and authority figures do. So they might try their talking a little more readily with their peers than they will with other people. Always with the people they feel the most comfortable. All right. Now, the next one here is that older siblings and peers, they naturally look out for and boss around the younger ones. So if you've got, especially older girls, it's just kind of typically what happens. If you have an older daughter than a younger late talking son, this combination is sort of set up for this exact hack, because older girls love to take care of their little siblings. Even little kids do. Girls or whatever. It doesn't even, you could have an older son or a twin, right? Who is just really, they're connected with the child, and they are looking out for them, at the same respect they, boss them around and pick on them and beat them up too. But remember, all of that behavior is connection and communication. And your late talking child is learning from and relying on their siblings to communicate for them. So what we're going to talk about now is, what do you do? Because if you're in this situation where maybe your child does go to daycare and the nanny or the daycare provider or whoever is hearing more talking than you are, or when you leave, maybe you're working and you've got someone coming to your house, and when you come back, you're not hearing as much talking as other people. Here is what you can do. Okay, we're going to move into that. I just want to make sure I get the right one. Yes. Okay, so here's what parents can do when late talkers rely on siblings or peers to talk for them, because that's what they're doing. That's their strategy, right? They don't like talking. They don't want to try. They're avoiding it. So they get their siblings and peers to do it for them. And so here's what you do, right? It's because you want to turn this attention to you so that your child is listening and learning from you instead of relying on other people to talk for them and trying the speech on their own. So you want to include the siblings and peers in your own efforts to help the late talker. LT stands for late talker here, right? So you want to include them and show them how you do it. Model and how to talk slowly. And this is a big one, how to explain and demonstrate things instead of doing them for the late talker or using hand over hand, okay? Sometimes siblings and peers are not patient with the late talking child, and they'll want to jump in and do things for them or baby them, make them into the baby doll like the big sisters do, okay? And you want to show them how to be teachers instead of caregivers to their little sibling, all right? Now, the other thing, number 3 here, is that you want to include the late talker in conversations about solutions, okay? Instead of just explaining their needs and problems or justify their actions. So you're saying to their siblings and peers, things like, oh no, Joey is he has autism, so he behaves that way sometimes. That's not helpful for the situation. That's not understanding it. When you talk about what do we do when Johnny has this issue, then you and include Johnny in that solution. He really likes it when I do this. When he's upset and I give him hugs, he really likes it, deep, deep hugs, when he gets very upset. So instead of yelling, you could try this. And you can explain these kind of conversations about solutions as you talk to familiar adults and peers and everyone else. But let them hear you talk about these solutions so they know what to expect these people to do when they act their communication behaviors, okay? The number 4 one here is to encourage kids to share the roles and responsibilities, right? To empower the late talker to try things, okay? We're not talking about speech where we're saying, I'm saying a word, try this. We're talking about other things that are not speech related, because remember, your child is afraid of trying to talk because they think it's too hard. But when you get them in the mood of trying things they never tried before, guess what? And while you're talking about doing those things, you're getting language facilitation done, right? That's what language facilitation is. So that's what happens when you start to engage and teach your kids how to teach instead of how to do for and be caregivers and make excuses for and explain away those things instead of working with those behaviors. And always let your kids, your other kids, the peers that we're talking about here, remind them that you are there as a support, just like I'm here as a support for you in your language facilitation efforts. You're the one watching this video. You're the one getting the tips. You're the one who knows that person. So you're the one who's going to be best able to explain it to grandma or the nanny or the kids on the block or the siblings, the older sister. It's important that you engage them in your efforts, because language facilitation is a whole family job. And these siblings are amazing helpers. I'm telling you what, those situations, like I said, it's so common that I have a younger late talking boy and an older completely talking girl, and they are incredibly helpful for parents in the process. Anybody who is a friend, an older cousin, you can substitute if you don't have an older sister in your life. They are wonderful when you empower them to help you in the process. So that's the most important thing if you've got that reliance on other people. And you'll know, because you'll probably have heard this, depending on how old your late talking child is, other people will have said, well, he doesn't have to talk. If anyone has ever said that about your child, they are using this hack. They're using it because they're so good with their nonverbal communication that you're getting it. So let's move into number 2, because like I said, here's what happens. Lead talkers, number 2, they develop their own language, not just a few little things, but many, many nonverbal behaviors that you understand have real meaning, and they use those things over and over again. Here's why. Okay, so number 1, kids want their parents to understand their need and meet their needs from birth. They start crying different ways to get you to do different stuff, right? And they will try hard to help you guess. They will. And so the thing is, when they're trying so hard with their behavior to help you guess and meet their needs, right? That's when you can really take advantage of it. When we get into the next slide, we're going to talk about that. But here's what else happens. So parents eagerly observe the late talker for signs to help them guess. And they want to stop this fussy behavior and keep the late talker happy. So they eagerly learn the late talker's nonverbal language, these signs that they use, and they use them over and over again. So late talkers learn quickly what behaviors, because like I said in the first slide, they watch their siblings do it and they trial and error it themselves. They learn quickly what behaviors get the fastest and most accurate responses with every caregiver individually. Now, I want to make a little mention about this, because in this situation, this nonverbal language, they could have separate languages for separate people. Just like people, maybe if you're in a multilingual household, different people speak different languages because that's how they communicate. The late talker sees all of them. That's how kids who live in Europe and India and all kinds of places where there are many languages spoken in the region. You know, in United States, everybody speaks English, but you can move to different parts of the country and it sounds very different, okay? And that's kind of what happens is late talkers learn, oh, when I'm with this person, communication works best for us. That person understands my needs. I understand what they want from me when I do this set of behaviors. And then they'll pick another set of behaviors for grandma and another set of behaviors that works with dad, because the same behaviors that work, you know what I've been talking about, this is what works to use. They're using these communication behaviors to get what they want. And when they use them and they work, they make them into a language. And they try them over and over again, and you respond over and over again. And dad responds the same way, and grandma and the nanny and everybody else responds in the same way. But the child is so sophisticated. That's why we're talking about kids that get diagnoses of autism, but they're still able to be literally multilingual in a nonverbal way. That's why so many of the families that work with me, when they start to get their kids talking, are teaching multiple languages at the same time, because they know their kids can do that. They communicate differently. Think about how your child communicates differently between you and your partner, and you and their siblings, and you and their daycare provider, right? Or the doctor, the strangers, you know, people in their life. They communicate differently with different people, just like you do, right? And that's what's really important about this strategy that you need to understand. Okay, let's get into it. I just want to make sure we've got them all. Yeah. So yeah, here's what they do. They repeat the behaviors that work across activities and change them. And when they don't get their desired outcome, they say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore, right? That doesn't work for me, so I'm going to stop it. I'm going to change it and do. And that's what happens over time. The nonverbal language develops. All right, so now we're going to move into what to do. Like I said, this is what happens with every single late talker. This particular nonverbal language hack that late talkers use to avoid talking is happening in every single household of every single parent, grandma, caregiver who's watching right now, because that's what they do. It's all they've got is nonverbal communication. Let's talk about what to do. That is right here. And so here's what you can do when late talkers have developed their own language. Number one, when you see a communication behavior, because we talked about all behaviors communication, when you see a communication and you know what it means, and you're going to know more than anyone else what that means, because you know your child and you've been reading their mind and you understand their nonverbal language, right? Basically, this number one is just translation. When you see a communication behavior and you know what it means, translate it. Say it out loud in a sentence. Oh, you don't like that. You really want more. You think ice cream is delicious, right? Okay, number two, thank the late talker for telling you whatever they did. You think ice cream is delicious. Thank you for telling me. Now I know that you like ice cream and I will give you more when it's ice cream time. We can't have ice cream every day. It's a treat food. Like, you go into all of that. Thank you for telling them and why, right? So here's the next thing. This is a really big hack that you can turn on your kids who's hacking you. You want to tell the late talker exactly how you will help them. Don't tell them the solution. Oh, you want a cookie? Here's a cookie. You want to go into detail about what you have to do, because this is what your child needs to learn. They need to learn what to tell you. They need to learn what to say. They need to learn to say, go get a cookie from the kitchen. Take it out of the cabinet. Put it in my hand so I can eat it in my mouth and it will go in my tummy and then I'll be happy. Those details, right? This is what most parents who are doing language facilitation with late talkers are missing. They immediately jump to the solution and they don't talk about the process of getting the solution, because what you want your child to ask you is to do the thing. Mom, will you please get me a cookie? Wouldn't that be your dream statement that you want to hear? How will your child ever learn that you need to go to the kitchen and get a cookie unless you tell them those words right then and there. You want me to go to the kitchen and get you a cookie. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And then you say it again. Here I go. I'm going to the kitchen. I'm opening the cabinet. This is where the cookies are. That's why I opened this cabinet. I'm going to get you a cookie. And the thing about this trick, the reverse hack on this, right, is when your child knows that you are in the process of giving them what they're doing and you're telling them what you're doing. I'm doing it right now. Look at me. I'm going to the kitchen. I'm opening the cabinet. I'm reaching in. I'm grabbing the cookie. I'm taking it out of the package. Your child will wait. They won't be excited, screaming. They will wait because they know, they see you actively doing what they want you to do. And so this is the language you need to model right then and there. Oh, you want me to do this? This is what I'm going to do. And now you're happy because I did what you wanted. Guess what? If a child is learning what works for them, they're going to learn that that works. Hey, this nice asking, that makes mom talk to me more, give me more language models, plus I get the cookie I wanted. Win, win, win for everybody. That's how you turn a child's nonverbal language into the words you want to hear them say, because the nonverbal language, they're communicating with you already. This is just a translation. This is just a translation. All right, let's get into, there's one more comment on here I wanted to say. Oh yeah, it's a really important one too. So here's the thing. You want to tell, number 4, you want to, when you don't understand the late talker, when you don't understand what they are even telling you, you don't know because the behavior is too vague, right? Or it's new, or it's one they used on dad that didn't work on you or whatever. This is the hack that you want to do, because remember, all you got to know is exactly what they want. And then you're just going to translate it like in 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So what you do when you don't understand is you got to tell them, oh man, I don't understand. I want to help you. I want to give you what you want, but I don't know what it is. Just show me. Just show me. And then when they do show you, you can model the words they need. They go to bang on the cabinet. It's just like what I said. Oh, you want something in that cabinet. I bet you want cookies. Let me find the cookies. And as soon as you start to do those activities, watch your child. And they'll let you know if you're right or not. Because if you guess wrong, right, you're going to get no, 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 no. You're going to get the opposite of what you want in this situation, which is your child to tell you more, to try harder, to use whatever they're communicating. And then what happens over time with this particular strategy, this translation strategy, is that over time, the language shifts. Because guess what? Those words, they work with everybody. They don't have to remember what works with dad and what works with nanny and what works with grandma and what works with mom. Because talking in the language that person understands works with everybody who does it. And when they start to see, hey, and it's easier, right? It's so much easier to say, cookie, please, get cookie, give me cookie, right? So much easier than pitching a fit or running to the kitchen or dragging you there out of your chair, right? You could say in the chair, oh, you want to have a cookie? And then have a conversation about it before you go get it even, or while you're in the process of it, so that your late talker understands the language they need. And then you can leave them, right, with a babysitter or a nanny or somebody like that, and they'll know the words they need to ask that person for the things they need. Because when they use their nonverbal language that they trained you to understand, you can't get anybody else because they haven't been in on the training. It's your child's unique language. Sometimes it's, especially with older kids, it's down to like eyeball gazes and, you know, certain activities they do, shrugs or waves or whatever, because it gets very sophisticated, this nonverbal language that they use. So that's a big, big hack that kids do use. And there's more, but wait, there's more. All right, let's get into the next one. By the way, I'm not seeing any comments, but I am seeing people watching. Thank you so much for watching today. Please hit the like button if you're watching, even if you pop in and like it. It always really helps the platform grow. And, you know, I do these videos for free on my own time for you. And this is really a great way to help me contribute. So thank you so much. Let's keep working, though, because there's more to learn about. All right, we're at number 8 right here on this slide, where we're at number 3, where we're talking about late talkers learn how to get things independently, right? So they basically don't need you to talk because they want to avoid that whole business of trying to ask you for something in the first place. So they will, they know they have their favorite things withheld for work sometimes. In therapies, I've had parents tell me that their kids, they've been told to lock up the toy room, take away all their snacks, all of that stuff. If that is a reality in your household, that's a part of a contributor to this hack. You're training your kids to be sneaky because they develop withdrawal from the things they love, and they want to get the reward for minimum work or zero work, right? They don't want to work for everything they want. So they develop the need to learn to be sneaky, and they sneak around behind your back, because they've watched you. They watch how others access the things they want. They see where you put it. They see where you lock it. They see where you put it away. And they have great problem solving. And maybe they're not as tall as you, so they can't reach it, but they know how to drag a chair over or a toy over or a box over. They might find, a scary way to do it. They might start climbing up the shelves of the refrigerator, right? They find their own ways to access the item if it's locked out of reach. And that causes more problems for families because kids' problem solving is not always safe. They don't consider the consequences of climbing on the kitchen cabinets. They just want their thing. And they're so, avoidant. That's all I can say. There are lots of reasons, right? Like if you ever withheld something from a kid, think about that with you, something you love that you really kind of need every day. And cold turkey, someone said you can only have your morning cup of coffee after you walk 5 miles. That's it. And you're like, but I need my cup of coffee to walk 5 miles. Too bad. We're working on this new program right now. And this is how we're doing things. Your life and your interaction and your trust in that person. You're like, look, I know my body. I know I need coffee every day before I walk 5 miles. I'm not even going to make the 5 miles if I don't drink the coffee. I don't believe you. I've got evidence over here that says that you shouldn't need it. You shouldn't need that right now. You should be able to walk 5 miles without it. And I'm just going to train you to mindset or whatever. Think you can do it. You can either cave and say, all right, I guess I'm going to learn to do this because I have no choice, right? And cave in and do it. Or you're going to fight against that if somebody tells you that, you can't have what you want. You're going to sneak it. You're going to wake up a half hour early, drink your cup of coffee, brush your teeth, and get rid of your coffee breath before the guy comes to check, right? You're going to do it. Because not cold turkey, not overnight, you're going to give up your coffee. And this is the experience. This is the experience that kids who are in these therapies that withhold their favorite objects, this is what they experience. And so they're going to fight back against it. They're either going to flight or fight from it. So that's why it happens. All right, let's get into what to do, right? We need to know what to do when that happens. And that is right here. All right, so what can parents do when late talkers are sneaky and get things independently? Number one, obviously, stop withholding or exchanging the late talker's favorite things for work. Just stop doing it. You don't need it. It's not working to teach them, and it's causing habits that you don't want in your house. You might be getting great numbers on the therapy, ABA data, but if it's affecting your household, you need to stop it. Tell the late talker, number two, that you know what they want. Look, because we just did number two. I know you want this YZ, and tell them what you will do to help them achieve their outcome. Like I said, that solution will solve a lot of problems, that translation. Talk to your child about what they are thinking about and explain exactly what you will need to do to help them. Oh, you are feeling a certain way. Maybe I need to give you a hug. Maybe I need to stop. Maybe we need to stop, drop, and roll for a minute and regroup about all of this, because we have to find out what's going on. And you have to explain what you're going to do. And here's the trick. If the answer is no or not now, because they can't have the iPad or the go out or whatever they want, explain why. You have to explain it why. Even if your child is nonverbal or pre-verbal, right? They have to wait and they have to understand what that involves for them, what they're going to do while they wait, why they have to wait for it, why they can't have it. They want to know why. And unless they know why, they're going to keep trying to get it because they just think you're saying no because you're being mean or resisting, and they're just going to fight against it. They're like, all right, this is a challenge then. They see it as a challenge. No, not now. And that you'll know how your child is responding by if they are in fight or flight. When you say no, does your child want to hit you, or do they run away? And that's it, fight or flight, because they want what they want. You're not going to make them stop wanting it just by you saying no. In fact, you're going to make them sneaky. All right. So number 5 is help the late talker put the thing away and teach the boundaries, right? That's what you have to do. If you have a limit on tech time or snacks or whatever, you have to set that up and create the boundaries and expectations. It's your job as a parent to create what those are. Decide what they are, be consistent with it. Because if you're not consistent, then your late talker is not going to learn. Right? They're already in a pattern of communication where they're avoiding you and trying to get things on their own. If you want to turn that around and get them to trust that you do understand what they want and you will give it to them, and when they can't have what they want, you're going to empathize with them. You're not going to say too bad, so sad, right? That's what happens when you withhold your child's thing and then they don't do the work. What happens when they don't do the work? You know, you say, I'm going to give you this. I got a family I just talked to. The therapist is wanting to get the kid, they called him a praxic because he doesn't want to imitate, but the kid never shuts up when the therapist leaves. So he's not a praxic, but they're using chocolate to make him say, because that's the only thing they could get him to do for Hershey's. It's not even chocolate. And Hershey's how is that going to help this kid? He's 6.5, by the way. How is that going to help this kid in his life? Saying, in exchange to get a piece of chocolate to eat. That's what the therapist is working on. And as far as spoken language. And then she wants to set him up with a complicated iPad system where he can touch the thing and use single words. And his parents like, what about all this babbling? What about all of this nonverbal communication I'm seeing in my house? And that's why potentially she's going to sign on and work with me. She's starting language facilitation because she wants to hear her child use the words, not this nonverbal communication plus the tablet that he doesn't even like using, right? It's all about empowering your child to want to come to you. And they're not going to come to you if they can't trust you. If they think you're going to take away their stuff, they lose trust. And if they don't trust you, then they won't work for you at all. That's why you've got to bribe them. Okay. And what I'm here to say is maybe the work is not what you need to be doing. Maybe you need to be getting away from high structure and bribery and into more natural language facilitation. And we're going to talk about that too. All right. So where are we? On our next one, right? This is the next thing that late talkers will do as a hack to avoid trying to talk. They will wait for someone to anticipate their needs. And this is because a lot of parents of late talkers anticipate kids' needs. And they have to, because you have to know what your kid wants. And you don't have a lot of time. So you got to get things in and you schedule and anticipate your child's needs. They need to eat this. They need to eat this kind of food. They need to eat this kind of food prepared this way. These are the only kind of clothes they wear. This is where they need to be going for their daycare. You schedule and anticipate their needs because it's your busy life, right? And what happens is the late talkers will learn from you managing them. This is what you're doing. You're managing them and they become managed. They learn that their food or care will arrive without asking. So they don't come asking for it because they just learn to wait. And then it arrives. And then the caregivers, this is what happens to mindset. If you find that this is happening in your life, this is what you need to think about. The caregivers that are focused on the caregiving outcome they want, you want. I want my kid fed. I want the food in their stomach. I want them bathed. I want their shoes on. I want them sleeping. I want them saying words, right? You're focused on the outcome that you want instead of your connection with the child. If I want my child to say words, what do I have to do? What do they need for me to empower them to do it instead of me pulling those words out just like I force the clothes on? You put your child's shoes on instead of teaching them how to do it because they avoid learning. They don't want to learn because you have taught them that you want them to be managed and not initiate their own talking. That's why they wait, because you've taught them to wait. And caregivers do this. Sometimes caregivers are inflexible about caregiving outcomes. Not only does the food have to get in the child, but it has to get in the child in a certain period of time, or my way, or this particular food, or this amount of food, right? And we can't get up from the table unless you eat this amount of food, right? That's inflexibility about caregiving. When your outcomes, it has to be done my way, that goes back to the one right above it, right? That's what happens. They wait for somebody to anticipate their needs. And then what they'll do is they'll learn to endure suffering and wait for caregivers instead of going against the system because they are managed. You have made your child into a passivist. And like I said, fight or flight. What are they doing? They're flighting. They're waiting. And the problem with this situation is that they're not coming to you to tell you what they want with their nonverbal communication. So you're not able to watch them and learn what that nonverbal communication is. You don't even care. You're like, all I care about is that the kid's fed and cleaned and done by the end of the day, right? And then what happens is you feel bad. You start to feel guilty about that spoken language outcome that you really want, the natural speech. You've got to work for it. You know, every time you want to see your child dress, you have to work harder because you are making these things happen. You're making your child have food in their belly. You're making them clean. And you are making in your 3D world, right? But you cannot make someone learn a language. You can't force them. You can't bribe them. They have to want to learn, because it requires a lot of processes. They have to listen, they have to understand, they have to like that language, they have to see how it's useful for them. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, kids learn from exposure, watching what works for them, and then they use it. But if they don't see it because you're not talking about it, you know, and again, the food arrives. You know, if you're feeding your child while they're watching videos or something, gosh, I hope not, because I've done a lot of videos about how dangerous and damaging that is. You're not teaching anything. You're prolonging, as your child gets older, the opportunity for increased frustration and exhaustion on your part, because you want to raise your child to be independent, right? To try these things and do these things on their own. And when you guess and anticipate their needs, it's not going to work. So let's learn what to do. Let's learn what to do, because this is a big, big problem. And it's right here. So what can parents do when the late talker is not initiating asking for their needs, right? Number one, you want to start talking about what your child wants and needs in detail. How are you going to know? You got to start watching them. Watch what they do. Watch where they take you. Watch what they point to. Watch what they carry around. They will show you with their behavior. You got to talk about it out loud. When you see something, say something. Number two, talk through the process of the things you're doing to help them meet their needs. Hear the same theme over and over and over again, because that's the words this child needs. They don't know how to ask because they never had to ask before. So what they need, the words they need to ask are the process words, not the I want cookie. It's the give me a cookie. They will learn to say I want after they learn what to ask for. You know, through the process, talk through the process. That's what they want to ask for. They want to ask you to go and get them or hand them or help them or hug them. The ultimate outcome, the hug, the happiness, the whatever, they're not thinking about right now. They just know what they want you to do. Okay. And then here's how you also help them. You have to start talking about your own wants and needs, because when your child again hears you talk about, I like this and I want that and I love this and I don't like that and that's too much for me or that's too whatever for me, they learn the language they need to share those things about their own self, right? It's not just about getting the job done. Talk about the caregiving activities you do for others. So you can see, I have to change the baby because she's dirty. I have to do this thing. I have to, and you know, even if you're like, I'm making coffee for daddy because he's busy working. Those are caregiving activities you're doing for others. And you talk about those things because again, that's the process. And those are the words that your late talker needs if they're not knowing how to ask you for the things they want. They're going to ask you to do the process. Number 5, observe your child and confirm that they are communicating hunger or thirst before you give them food and water, which means stop scheduling in your kids' food. Change things up a little. Let them feel hungry and see what they do. And when they show you that they're hungry, that's your opportunity. You go back to that number 2, interpret. that, whoa, you're hungry. You want me to give you food. Let's go to the kitchen to find some food. Then, like after you've already talked about the problem, then you can say, come on, let's go. Let's solve this problem together. You don't have to wait for me to leave the room and grab a chair, right? I'll help you. I'll help you get it because I want you to communicate with me. I don't want you to sneak and hide behind my back. I want to help you learn how to do this. That's how you empower yourself with that strategy. Okay, we've got one more. And this one is more popular with the older late talkers, okay? And it is right here where we're talking about how late talkers ignore people and shut down their listening. They just shut them down. They can shut you down while they're looking at you. And what that happens is late talkers learn who will understand and respond easily to their nonverbal communication and who won't. You know, who pressures them, who prompts them, who manages them, you know, versus listens to them. That's the difference. And then the late talkers will consistently ignore or escape those who ignore their feelings and try to change them. They'll just leave you, like I said, fight or flight. And the next one about this is that late talkers who have had a lot of prompting. Like if you're asking your kid, if you're pulling out things and giving a lot of directions, they just become weary and frustrated by people constantly making them work for the things that they have. And they often behave like they can't hear. So what happens is when there's too much of that other stuff going on, they will ignore you and behave like they can't hear because they can shut down their listening reactions and facial expressions, look at you like a brick wall. Even if you're screaming at them, you know, they may reflect your behavior or they may stonewall you. And that's what this strategy happens when they just kind of completely black out and, you know, didn't give you anything. So what can you do? Let's talk about that. What can parents do when late talker is ignoring you or even their caregivers? So maybe they talk to you, but they don't talk to caregivers, right? So here's what you want to either do yourself or coach them to do. So instead of, like I said, having your agenda where you're trying to get your kid to do what you want them to do, you want to take time every single day to just observe your child. Observe them. And over time, you're going to watch those patterns. You're going to see they've all got a nonverbal language going. You'll come to learn to understand their nonverbal communication language. Okay, if you don't already, this is what you got to start doing. Number 2, give your child what they ask for. Give it to them as long as it's allowed. If it's not a no, not now situation, but if they want it and they let you know when they have gone to the trouble of communicating their needs nonverbally, let that work as communication and use the opportunity to translate it, right? Number 3, keep questions and directions reserved for teaching the steps to complete a functional skill, okay? So parents have to be teachers sometimes. You have to prompt your kid with potty training. You have to prompt them to sit at the table to eat. You have to prompt them about the rules I talked about, you know, the boundaries that you have about things. That's your job as parents, to let your kids know where are the rules, where are the boundaries, because when they understand those rules, they can see when they can be happy again. Like I can't have it. Remember, it's not a not, no, never. It's a not now situation. Not now because you've already had your snack for the day. Not now because, yeah, video time is over for today. And we will have more video time tomorrow because that's how we in our family, the rules are around video time. We can watch video every day, but we only get this amount of time in this hour. And then you stick to those rules. And those rules and structures are important and helpful, right? But what you've done is you've coached your child through that process to understand what the rules are instead of punishing them or correcting them after they break the rules. And that's no fun for anybody. You just want to know what's expected ahead of time, okay? All right, let's get into what's next. Yep. Yeah, so that prompting, they get weary about it. And like I said, they'll just behave like they can't hear. And that's what's going on. So, okay, what I want to talk about now, really quick, is first of all, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms and grandmas who are watching. I know that most of the people, there are some men who watch me, but most of the people who watch me are moms, and Mother's Day has been going on for a couple weeks now, all over Europe and Australia, I think was last week, and it's in US this weekend. I've got my Mother's Day locket from my kids on. My kids are in their 20s now. But yeah, I just wanted to say happy Mother's Day to everybody. And also, it's Teacher Appreciation Appreciation Week, and I just wanted to share with you, I received something very cool from one of the families that works with me. This is from 4-year-old Aditi and her mama. They just sent me this, via the web, and she says, thank you. Cut, read, ride bike, and many more, including this little girl learned to make rice in the rice cooker. And Aditi's comments were happy teaching to parents like us because this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And Aditi, this little girl who, did nothing really interactive just maybe about a year ago, is now, look at this amazing content she created here. And the rainbow and first 2 lines are her own handwriting. She traced it. And then, so, I wanted to share that with families because you can understand how powerful you are as language facilitators. And when you learn to teach your child to talk, you can teach them anything you want to teach them that they want to learn, right? You can teach them, like I said, Aditi's cooking. And how did Aditi get to all those things? How did their language training turn into riding bikes and drawing and writing and reading and all those things? How did it happen? I'm going to show you another little thing that I received from another mom in my program. And this is from Shweta with her 5-year-old son. So he was a late talker. He was only using single words and just a few and, not prompted. It's been a couple years now that they've been in the program, and he's a chatterbox. He never stops talking, and he's telling stories and stuff. But he also is very selective about who he talks to, and they've been evolving his spoken language to get more specific and complex and teach him all kinds of things at the same time. But this little picture here that they drew is a story about, they live in Australia and their family's in India, and they love to fly to India to visit their family. And this one in the back is a train because this little guy loves trains. And there's the tracks and all the train cars and that umbrella. And they wrote India. And he's just 5 and he's learning to do. But, Shweta says, I have a lot to be grateful to God and you. And it's true that, these moms who embrace this, it's a lot of work. And look, she got pencil grip, speech, and imagination all together with one storytelling activity while they're drawing pictures and telling stories. And this year, the hard work is all paying off. Like I said, Chatterbox kid, Chatterbox. You're wonderful, and you give parents all the support and happiness. And so that's why I wanted to share that with you, because I just want you to know, if you're struggling now, if you're feeling like all 5 of these hacks are going on in your world, or 2 or 3 or even 1, and it's just blocking your process, know that there's a way through this. There definitely is, because all of these hacks happen from habits. There's nothing physiological or neurological that causes these things to happen. It's all environmental and mindset, both your mindset and your child's mindset. And so what I want to share with you today is, like, by sharing these little success stories from 2 moms, how they were also very, very stuck with kids who did not want to listen or engage with them at all. They loved their parents, but they were not good listeners, neither one of them. And there were different reasons for both of those kids to be poor listeners and develop their, nonverbal language that they had. They were both so good with their nonverbal language, and their parents were responding to it, that language facilitation stopped in both of their families. And then when they made a reset by using the strategies that I talked about in this video, both of those families saw the turnaround that you're talking about now. Now, like I said, they've both been in the program more than a year. But families who work with me, they see progress quickly, and they grab that progress and they build on it. And they grab that progress and they build on it. And they grab that progress and they build on it. And that's why in 2 years, you could never get this kind of progress in speech therapy. Never. Not relying on a therapist only to do the sessions. Without parents digging in and doing the work, these kids would not be where they are today. And it is because of their mamas and dads and family members and everybody else who got on their case on the language facilitation train. In this kid's case, he loves trains, and they never stop evolving and trying and asking and working. And that's what I offer for parents in my lifetime program. So I just want to show you again, You don't have to work with me to get resources, and you don't have to work with me to get progress, but you need to know how to find the resources. So I'm going to tell you right now, here's how you do it. All of these places you can go here on YouTube. Like I said, nearly 400 videos. I have a book that I wrote that details this process. This is the least expensive way to get the step-by-step process all in one place, is in the book. There is a podcast. There is a Facebook group. There is a MeWe group. And then I have on my website at wavesofcommunication.com, you can go watch my 90-minute class that describes exactly what you need to do and how to use those resources, no matter what you have to invest. If you have time, because you got to have some investments. You got to learn. You got to learn somehow. You either learn on your own, watching YouTube videos. You follow the process in the book. You join the independent study program on my website, and literally that takes you step by step with assignments and self-analysis with video and all of that stuff, because that's how I work with parents. And it's my aim to train and teach and empower every single parent and caregiver who watches me to become the lay talker in your life, their language facilitator, the main one, the primary one, the one who accepts responsibility to get your kid talking, and by using spoken language they need, because that's what I know how to help people do. That's what I know. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody, today. This is another long video, but when I get into these topics, I want to explain everything such detail so that you don't have any questions. But if you do, of course, you are welcome to comment. And if you are finding yourself having any of these hacks being used on you, comment below about your experience and what's happening with you. Maybe you tried one of these strategies before and it worked for you. Other parents help other parents when they hear that things have worked for you. That's why I shared these stories about these two moms in my program, so that you can see it's not magic. It is work, and you have to make changes for sure. But when you do, you're going to see results beyond your imagination, like these parents are seeing. They're blowing my mind. There are more than 110 families that have enrolled to work with me in 20 countries around the world. They're not all from those countries, but they're living in those countries. And that's what's great about Waves of Communication. You can access it everywhere. So I hope to see you come back and join me again next week, every Thursday at 11 a.m. I am right here on YouTube doing language facilitation, Q&A, educational videos. And if you like this video, go ahead and watch another one or two or three or five or six. There are playlists where they're organized, where you can watch many, many videos about research, about strategies, about mindset, and things that you can do. That's every single video I produce has strategies you can use. So it's not a waste of time unless you don't do the work. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining me again. I will see you all on my next video. Happy Mother's Day again to all the mamas out there, sending you all the love. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. Just watching this video, I'm proud of you, because you're making the effort to help your kid when nobody else will, nobody else can, not like you, not like the mama. And I'm here to help you and empower you so that you can get the best outcomes possible. So thank you again for joining me, and I will see you all on my next video. Bye for now.